that does come across. Some are very easy that we will concur with. So we'll get to them, but let's deal with any. I'm sorry.
April has a concern.
Okay, April, you want to start?
Sure. All right. So first one I have, these are all easy. Senate Bill 674. This is the bill on reconstituting the Commission on Environmental Justice and Sustainable Communities. The House amendments just conform the bill to what the Senate did on the House bill. So we should concur if we want to keep them the same. All right.
Lee, Senator Ellis, you pushed that we shouldn't accept it, and you pushed your amendment midweek, and we were nervous about it being late. It got adopted. It was the right thing. Thank you. Okay, next.
Next one is Senate Bill 673, Department of Agriculture Urban Agriculture Grant Program. This is Senator Gallion's bill. So again, it sets up the Urban Agricultural Grant Program within the Department of Agriculture. Again, the House just added that same clarifying amendment to the Senate bill that we had added to the House bill, so we should concur to keep the bills identical.
Any objections? Saying none, done.
That's all I have.
Do the cross files?
Oh, yeah, to vote on. So we just got House Bill 770, Baltimore City Community College Procurement Authority from rules. So this is, again, the bill that would allow Baltimore City Community College to do some of their own procurement rather than having the Department of General Services do it for them. The House came over in the same form as the bill that was amended, the Senate bill that was amended by the House, where we've already concurred to the House amendments on the Senate bill. So again, we should, the committee should just give it a straight favorable if we want to keep those bills identical.
Can we pull up the last vote to figure out? I don't know if anybody objected to that or not. But the motion is favorable. Check with Lemuria if you want to be in the negative or if you voted no last time.
So the bill was unanimous. The Senate bill was unanimous in this committee.
Okay. It's a simple cross file. Next.
That's all I have.
Cross files?
I don't have any cross files.
So what?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I have a cross-file, House Bill 424, Public Financing Act, Matching Fund Revisions, Maryland Fair Elections Act. This bill is identical to Senate Bill 415 as passed by the Senate and amended by the House, in which the Senate and this committee concurred this morning.
Anybody object? The motion is to concur. That's the one for the gubernatorial election. Senator Washington.
Sorry, this is just about another cross file I'm inquiring about, so I'll just wait. Yep.
Then that it will go to the floor with that report. Next.
Let's see here. For pre-consideration, on your desk, I have placed a copy of a reprint for Senate Bill 785, State Board of Education Membership and Terms, Capability and Capacity Study of Education Agencies. So the House has placed on quite a few amendments here, so I'm going to explain these to you. First, it clarifies that the state board members are from the public with a high level of knowledge and expertise in specified areas, instead of saying one member has this, two members have this level of knowledge. A single member may not possess the knowledge and expertise specified in more than two of the listed areas. It requires the board to meet at least 12 times per year. It requires the State Board of Education president to determine the agenda of board meetings and is authorized to consult with the state superintendent in determining the agenda. It requires the board to select a secretary from its membership and repeals the requirement that the state superintendent is the secretary of the board. It creates an executive director position within the state board and authorizes the board to set the terms of employment of the executive director. And it requires the board secretary to administer oaths.
Okay. This is a bill we passed, I don't know, 4 or 6 weeks ago, Senate President. The House changed it. So what's the pleasure? We can concur or not concur, I think. Absolutely.
So you mentioned something about they can't have the two, more than two. Where is that?
All right,
just-
so if, looking at the reprint on page 3 of 6, just before line 18, it says no more than 2 board members may be qualified through high-level knowledge and expertise in any one of the fields listed in subparagraph I of this paragraph. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering about the wording of that. I think I understand what they're trying to do, but I don't know if that's what it's saying.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's terrible language. I hate to slow it down. I think it meant
I know what it meant, but
only 2 can be twofers.
right.
But
This is limiting.
if someone is a twofer but happened to have other expertise but weren't selected on the expertise, they can't be on the board.
Right.
I mean,
That was what my concern was.
have you
well,
read
it does,
this?
I think it just says maybe qualified. So, for example, when the governor is appointing various individuals, they can't say, oh, well, they have expertise in early childhood, child psychology, and education, and assume that's taking up one of those spots. So even if other people have those qualifications, I think when they're saying, all right, this individual is nominated because they have expertise in these areas, even if they have additional, I think they're supposed to just take up 2 categories. That's my understanding.
Okay, no, that makes more sense. Still not wonderful drafting, but I hope you didn't draft it. So.
I did not.
Geesh, that would have been embarrassing. Senator Riley.
Mr. Chair or Council, is there any understanding of why they want to create an executive director? I thought it's been operating pretty fine for 50 years. I don't know what the issue is.
My understanding is that they are trying to take back a little bit more authority from the state superintendent and have the board have its own sphere of influence, and those what these changes are intended to affect.
And on the same issue, was a line cut off on the copier?
Where? Which page?
Page 5, the last sentence.
Within the state.
It says there's an
No, if you look on the next page, board is way up there above subsection B.
Yeah, okay. Okay, what's the pleasure? Yes, he's fine with it. Okay. Move to concur. Anybody object? There's a majority. We concur. Well, one.
Find it here. Senate Bill 55, Legislative Department, eligibility to serve as senators and delegates, place of abode. So the House amendments essentially just put the word in primary before every reference to place of abode.
There's a change in the calendar.
I consulted with counsel on that side, and his understanding after speaking with the Rules Committee, because that's where those bills go for the House, that's the only change in the bill. Then he might not have been aware of that, but that's the only change that I was made aware of.
Can we pull it up? I mean, shouldn't
Let me
it be
see.
in the system?
Let me take a look.
Not if it's not been read across the desk yet.
Well, but the third reading copy should be from the House, isn't it?
Right, so it just got voted out of rule. See, these controversial kind of election type bills, they're not really elections, they're more state government type bills. They go to rules in the House, and the Rules Committee handles them. So my understanding is it's favorable with amendments out of rules, but I don't have a copy of those amendments. But
So,
if they're motivated, then obviously they can suspend the rules. And I don't know how
Okay.
motivated they are.
well,
I got a text from someone who was working on this bill and said that the compromise was that it wouldn't be in effect until 2023.
well, let's look at this. If the amendment is simply to put primary residence, anybody have an objection with concurring to that? Our assumption was it would have an effect whenever the effective date had. If in fact the effective date is pushed back, is anybody? Yes, it goes before the voters. This was to essentially say you had to actually live in the district. You can't just rent a place. You had to prove that after we spent most of your nights. So you couldn't have a phantom address and live in wherever, Howard County or Caves or whatever. Okay, then that will be, we'll concur if if it gets back to us.
All right, so I have 3 concurrences. The first is Senate Bill 49. This deals with, or one of the cyber bills. And when we dealt with the bill, we removed the mandatory consultation with the Attorney General, and as returned to us, that mandatory consultation with the Attorney General is added and restored. After speaking to, I'll refrain. Oh, so after speaking to the sponsor's office, I wanted to refrain because I didn't want to speak out of turn. They want to avoid a conference committee at all costs. So for what that's worth.
Between the lines. Okay, hold tight. Senator Hester?
Spoken with both the bill sponsor and also the Attorney General. And the Attorney General is fine if his office is consulted. He doesn't have the staff. So I just want to make sure that there's no requirement in the bill that his staff do anything, which is why we took him out in the first place. But is that true?
So the issue is whether they have sufficient staff. So the last correspondence I had with the sponsor and the OAG, they seem to be okay with it. And sponsors seem to suggest that there were several ways they could meet the requirements without it being too onerous. I seem to be a pretty large plea to, avoid conference and, be okay with whatever OAG had to do.
So I believe the motion is to
Well,
the Senate to recede.
Well, that was bless you. Okay, so recede from our amendment
Yes.
and accept what they send over.
Yes.
So the way I have it on the paperwork is concur or not to concur. And if we
Oh.
were to, let me just double check and make sure though. Yep, it's a concur, not to concur. And so if we concur, no conference, as we know.
Yes, I move that we concur.
Okay, any objection? Seeing none, done. Next. We don't have too long here.
Okay. So the next is Senate Bill 82, which is the Maryland Music Therapist Act. And as returned to us from the House, generally this bill required licensure of music therapists. We dealt with this a long time ago under the Board of Examiners for Audiologists, et cetera. So as it returns to us, the criminal penalties and civil penalties are altered. So in the original bill language, criminal penalties could be up to $10,000. The criminal penalty for violating any provision of the act is now reduced to $5,000. And all civil penalties for practicing without a license are completely removed. And there are also several changes made to misrepresentation, so folks essentially can't say that they practice speech-language pathology or any iteration of that phrase if they aren't so licensed.
What's the pleasure? Don't all sing at once. You want to adopt this, not do it? I know there's not, we've had this floating around for, 8 or 9 weeks. What's the pleasure?
Sorry.
There's a House bill and a Senate bill, correct?
So we have a disagreement. Who's not concurring to who on this one?
It's been worked out. I think they would like concurrence. Is that right?
The House?
Records. House was super instrumental in bringing all of these changes about, and Senate sponsor wants it to move in its current posture
Okay.
from the House.
No. I'm sure the House sponsor, who's a member of the Shore, would like to move it as well. So whatever we can do to keep it moving.
In there of somebody being instrumental in moving this bill. That was very underappreciated. Okay, what else do you have, Ms. Foxworth?
All right, so Senate Bill 946, Maryland's 400 Commission. We, dealt with this and accepted the cross file last week, and essentially the changes are the same. Just the alterations to the membership of the commission are the exact same as the posture of the House bill that we passed on Thursday or Friday.
To conforming it by concurring? No objection, done. Anything else?
All right, so let's start with, let me pull it up here. All right, so House Bill 233 is the cross of Senate Bill 82, which we just moved to concur. And those penalties, misrepresentation are the exact same. It's identical to the posture of the Senate bill we just handled 5 minutes ago.
Favorable or concur?
This is a cross-file bill, so it would be favorable.
Okay, any objection to the favorable? Saying none, that'll be moved to the floor to help the sponsor get a bill.
So I have two pre-consideration bills. So coming out of rules, we're given authorization to pre-vote two cross-files. So first is House Bill 877, which is a cross-file of Senate Bill 764, which establishes the work group on adaptive reuse of vacant commercial spaces. And the cross-file, as it exits the House, as it exits rules, is identical to the Senate bill.
This was the Washington law firm. Yeah, that passed unanimously. Okay, that's done. That's a favorable.
And House Bill 943, another vote that is for pre-consideration, leaving rules. House Bill 943 is the identical cross-file to Senate Bill 637, which established the Live Near Your School program within Department of Housing and Community
That was the
Development.
Hayes bill, I believe. Yeah, unanimous. It'll be, unless there's a late objection, favorable will report it as such. Is that it?
And,
One more, last one.
Sorry?
You have one more?
it's not a cross-file, it's a non-cross-file bill. I don't know if we're on that yet. but my-
Give us a title, I'll tell you if we're on it.
So House Bill 663 which deals with amateur radio.
Ham radio. Susan says we need to vote.
Oh, yeah. Give us a very brief description, and then we'll either
So-
move it or not.
So essentially, this deals with codifying federal regulations as they pertain to amateur radios and amateur antenna radio stations. And so essentially, the intent is to preempt any local or county law, so to supersede any local or county law, and to err on the side of federal regulations, which tend to be more lenient in terms of restrictions and policies for amateur radio stations. 663.
It's been moved by Senator Riley. Is there a second? Did Senator Riley second his own motion? Oh, okay. I heard a voice coming from over there, and I didn't know we had a ventriloquist. So, okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion on the ham radio. Yes.
So the whole idea of the feds being flexible and mandating and overriding local government just troubles me. I don't understand why we would want to do that, and I'm especially thinking since we're in the national capital area, there may be cybersecurity. We may need to keep radio channels free in times of crisis and emergency, and I don't know enough to know, but my instinct is to ask some questions about this. I'd like to learn more. I'm not ready to vote on this bill.
Okay, any other discussion?
I will say the language is framed, and again, I'm not a radio telecommunications expert by far, but it seems to suggest that whatever policies and procedures are adopted have to reasonably accommodate these radio communications and can't preclude or can't kind of disenfranchise amateur radio. So kind of broad language, but that language is borrowed from federal statute, so.
Okay, we're going to hold it for our next
Guidelines.
session if there is a next session. Senator Simonelli, you want to make a comment? Okay, if we don't come back, there'll be food here after midnight, and there might actually be some spirits. So if people, I can't guarantee how much, but if you like Kentucky bourbon, there'll be some of that. So anyway, people are invited to come back for food, and if you still have some energy after midnight. Okay, thank you. They're calling us.